Millions of despairing men, women, and little children, victims of a system that makes men torture and imprison innocent people.
You cannot shake hands with a clenched fist.
Produced by a nuclear exchange would be carried by wind and water and soil and seed to the far corners of
the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We're not saying that planet Earth is coming to an end. We're saying that planet Earth is about to be refurbished, spaded under, and have another chance to serve as a garden for another civilization.
Most of the people in here are just your reflections. They're your mistakes.
1776 will commence again if you try to take our firearms.
1 million of the planet's 8 million species are threatened.
You are what you repeatedly do. Therefore, excellence ought to be a habit, not an act.
Your lives and the credibility of the United Nations is at stake.
Epstein didn't kill himself.
The reason this is such an interesting time is not only because we're on the threshold of the end of this civilization.
They're trying to take you out with bullshit.
The experience of the past 2 years has proven beyond doubt that no nation can appease the Nazis.
To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people. And so long as men die, liberty will never perish.
In the language of the U.S. Department of Defense, these are unidentified aerial phenomena.
Roswell's a very interesting place with a lot of people that would like to know what's going on.
There is very compelling evidence that we may not be alone.
This is the Garden of Doom.
Welcome everyone into Garden of Doom, and today we have a new guest who I was fortunate enough to encounter on Twitter, and his name is Rakesh Khanna, and he's coming to us. You're in India, right?
I am. I'm in Chennai, yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, I guess we'll skip the little introduction that I usually do, since I've already said hi. So, yeah, tell the folks a little bit about yourself.
Thanks for having me. My name is Rakesh, and I was born and raised in California. My father was Indian and my mother's American, but I've lived in India for about 25 years now, and my wife is Indian from the south. She's Tamilian. And we together started a publishing company about 15 years ago called Blaft Publications. And we've published a bunch of different stuff, including pulp fiction and translation and a lot of folklore. So a couple of years ago, I worked with a friend and we brought out a book called Ghosts, Monsters, and Demons of India, which is a little bit inspired by the Dungeons and Dragons monster manuals that I loved when I was a kid.
Me too.
And sort of trying to collect some of the cryptids and ghosts and demonic entities especially from minority traditions, like some of the ethnic groups that aren't so well known abroad, outside of India or in English anyway.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I mean, like most of the shows go well, but I really hope this one does, because I feel like it's going to be impossible to even come close to covering the ground in one show. And even with the other guests that you've steered my way who are coming, and hopefully those guests beget more guests as well. Because, I mean, we have an entire, as they call it, subcontinent and surrounding areas of lore. Now, I'm sure that a lot of it resembles each other. But if you study enough mythology and lore, it all sort of resembles each other. I mean, every time I feel like I've stumbled upon something that's really, really unique, I realize it's not so unique. They just, they substituted the turtle with a giant bird, or, and folks like Joseph Campbell, who I obviously don't speak to because he's dead, but, his book and scholars and some of the better YouTubers and whatever that out there, they point these things out, and then all of a sudden like light bulbs go off in your head. And I'm starting to get to the point where I've probably been there where I can do it myself. Anyway, so obviously, folks, I think you got the idea that we are going back into India and the surrounding areas, the Great Indus Valley, and all the way down to where allegedly Lemuria may have popped off at the end there. And we're going to do some myths and mythology and monsters and demons and stuff like that, and all the stuff that all the things that can live rent free in the Garden of Doom. So some of you longtime listeners, you know that we had a show probably about a year and a half ago where we covered sort of the creation story and all of that. And we'll probably cover some of it again, but we've covered Norse mythology and all the Indo-European stuff many times in different forms. And again, it's different voices. And so I'm really looking forward to this. So thank you so much. I'm going to shut up and let you take the lead, and then you can definitely tell us more about Blaft Publications and everything else at the end. But I do need to ask you one because I'm a weirdo. Where'd you come up with the name Blaft?
Yeah, we're supposed to give a different definition every time we're asked. So,
okay.
Big, loud, and ferocious tardigrades. It's an acronym.
Okay. Well, listen, I know what tardigrades are. They're small, but I've seen big ones on some of the Star Trek shows, and there you go. Are they ferocious? They could be. I don't know. I mean, they're small, but maybe, small things can be ferocious. All right. Very good. I knew there was a story there somewhere, and I needed to know what it was. So, it would have been something if, you just told me, oh, well, that's, Punjabi for fierce, or whatever, Anyway.
Yeah, sometimes I tell people it's like an ancient Indian parlor game. But anyway.
That works too. All right. So I don't know where you want to start, but probably a good starting point, if you want, is, creation and the major panoply.
Creation. Yeah. To be honest, that the creation myths are not my strong point. I was kind of more focused on minor demons and ghosts, like folkloric things, rather than like big tradition myths and how it all started kind of stuff. And a lot of this comes from, so one of the first books that we translated as Blaft was a book called Where Are You Going, You Monkeys? It's folktales from Tamil Nadu. And the author is this guy, K. Rajanarayanan, who was like the grand old man of Tamil folklore. So Tamil Nadu being our state here in the southeast. And he died a couple of years ago, but he had spent like 8 decades collecting stories from especially his districts of Tamil Nadu. A really cool guy. And his stuff was like, he was especially interested in the stuff that was not part of like this great Hindu tradition, like more like these local pays. So pay is the Tamil word for ghost.
Okay.
Well, it's not exactly ghost. Like bhoot is Hindi for ghost, and that's more definitely like the spirit of a dead person. A pay can be the spirit of a dead person, but maybe they're sort of otherworldly entities that were never human.
Is this closer to like a jinn or?
No, I think it's mostly like a bhoot, and they can be the spirits of dead people, but some of them like are mortal, like you can kill them. There's stories where pays, they hang out in tamarind trees or different kinds of trees, and there's a lot of stories where if you beat them with an iron rod, they die, and they have these like corpses which look like charred monkeys.
Ooh, okay.
And those pays, I don't think are ever supposed to have been human. But other pays are
well, they were monkeys.
Like yeah, maybe, I don't know. Possibly.
I mean, I could see that.
There's county pays, sorry.
Aren't like monkeys sort of like the scourge of some, towns and villages, like even today, like a lot of monkeys sort of like, they're like, rats here I'm near Baltimore. So like, but every city it's near water, has rats and cockroaches and, pigeons and things like that. But like, so, I was in Australia, and and there's cockatoos everywhere. Well, to me, cockatoo is exotic and beautiful and whatever. But to them, it's like a freaking seagull or a crow. It's like big deal. We see it all the time. And then, you're there a few days and you're like, yeah, there's cockatoos everywhere. So I would imagine monkeys may be the same, but maybe, a few hundred years ago or a few thousand years ago, monkeys, first of all, their feces and everything and spreading disease. And, maybe you could see where they became the demons because they really were the scourge in reality, but maybe got blamed for, they were like maybe the scapegoats for everything that went bad.
Yeah, we definitely have bad monkeys. We've had a couple. I mean, I've had a monkey raid my room before and make a mess of it, and eat my stuff, and attack my cat. And they don't come in. Actually, during the pandemic, when the traffic shut down, we had more monkeys in our neighborhood than we used to. But no, I think although when you kill a pay, its corpse can look like a monkey. They're not really related to monkeys, and they're never described as monkeyish when they're haunting people.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to stop guessing.
No, yeah. So Pays and Boots, I think, have this thing in common where they can turn into smog. Like, that's the most kind of common shapeshift. They're either like sort of anthropomorphic, floaty spirits, or they turn into smog.
Mm-hmm.
And it's usually like a purple smog. Like, in contrast to like the Western ghost, which is sort of transparent and you can put your hand through it. Like, these are sort of thick. When they take human form, like, you can touch them, and they like to do work,
Is it like gelatinous, or is it something different? It's, oatmeal-ish, or just it is translucent, but you're touching something, but I don't know how to describe it better.
When they're in smog form or when they're in human form? When they're in human form, I think they pass as humans, like tactilely and everything.
Okay.
When they're in smog form, I don't know. I've never heard a description of what they feel like when you touch the smog.
Interesting. I'm not going to guess. I'm about to guess, but I'm gonna trick the audience. I'm not guessing. I'm trying to tie connections. So I don't know. When I we're probably a similar age, and when I grew up, there were 3 states of matter. Solid, liquid, gas.
Right.
But there's now 4 states of matter, and one is
4
called
5. There's Bose-Einstein there's some list where there's more than 5 too. It gets confusing.
Yeah, some of them are theoretical, and then and one of my guests in the past called the 5th state of matter, where like sound resonance sort of hits a certain portion of something and basically opens almost like where it intersects with a dimension. That's another state of matter. And he's right about a lot of things. He's been right about a lot of things like decades before like others came up with it. So I will not doubt him. But the 4th state of matter that I know is definitely recognized. I've heard the one that you just mentioned, but I don't know anything about it, is plasma, but not plasma like when you think about passes for blood temporarily. It's basically like dark matter. So I'm picturing sort of like the dark matter, sort of this plasma kind of ethereal nature, but there's definitely a physicality and electricity to it, or energy to it, not electricity, but maybe electricity.
Plasma Pays, yeah, I'll buy that.
Okay, cool.
There is one. There's a Maharashtrian ghost that has an electrical effect for sure. I mean, I guess that's not uncommon in ghost stories, like Stranger Things, that you have that kind of effect going on, right? But yeah, there's the huddle. The huddle from Maharashtra tends to short out electrical things.
Yeah, I mean that happens a lot. I mean, listen, I don't think we need to take from horror movies as being fact or whatever, but they draw from folklore and legend and myth, and the ghost comes in the room, all the lights flicker and go out, everything gets cold. It's obviously there's an energy effect of maybe absorbing energy, but when it moves from one place to another, there's your crackles, your reverse lightning, your ball lightning effect kind of thing.
Yeah, although it's actually a lot more common in Indian folklore to hear that as soon as electricity has come, the ghosts have gone. Like, you hear this a lot from older people, like, there were a lot of ghosts in the days before our village was electrified.
Mm-hmm.
And now that there's light, they have run away. They don't like it,
I think that's everywhere. I mean, you hear everything where, everyone romanticizes the past, including, I think, the people who it's their own tradition. It's like, when technology and, in some places the colonists, or where, when we advanced, or whatever it is, when the modernity of what we consider modern world came, sort of the old ways slowly died, or went away. But you can still find them in certain hidden corners. And that's, that's the sexiness of like a Bigfoot or something, because we want to believe in some corners, there's still, room for, these creatures that are sort of, different than us, and including the supernatural. And that's what makes like places like the underworld and other dimensions so attractive and so fertile, because, we're running out of space. It hasn't been, charted.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You need the other dimensions.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you mentioned jinn. So there in Tamil Nadu you have Pays, which are sort of like the North Indian group, and then you have the Bhudam, which, though the word is like cognate with Hindi Bhut, those things are more like jinn, and those are hardcore shapeshifters. Those can like very quickly become huge, become small, become cats, like run around and again like but similar to Pays, they like to work. You have this thing. I don't know if this is so common outside India. Ghosts like to do chores.
I'm not sure that's not a common thing I've heard about ghosts, but I mean, Fantasia, I saw it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so this happens in a lot of folktales in Tamil Nadu, where you have to keep the ghosts busy, and if you don't keep them busy, they'll eat you. So the Buddha master, there's a Buddha which comes to this Raja and Rani, and the king and queen are like, they have to give it lots of work, and, renovate all the temples, dredge all the canals, all that stuff. Within seconds, it's like just like fixing everything in the kingdom. It's like, better give me something else, or I'll eat you all.
So if I was a bachelor, and I'm not, but if I was, and I was lazy, which I am, I would be the perfect, defense against this creature. Because I'm like, I haven't cleaned the bathroom in, weeks, to do my laundry, take care of this, clean the place. Hey, while you're out there, why don't you cook me meals for the next 3 weeks, freeze, 2.5. So yeah, I could do. But yeah, I clean the temples and dredge the canals and all that. Those seem like good ideas too. That'd be funny. That'd be like a horror comedy where like what was the creature called?
This is a Budam.
Okay, so a Budam comes and like, mistake gets lost and comes and like haunts, like, I don't know, just let's call it Seth Rogen or Kevin James. And they go and while it wants to do terrorizing, and he's like, this place is so messy, and he's talking to himself, I wish somebody would clean it. And then like the Budam's like behind him, he's like, nah. And then he has to start cleaning the place instead. And you have this sort of like cop buddy film, but it's just the ghost becomes the hero because you want him to get out of this like Cinderella like servitude.
It may have been made in Hindi, actually. I haven't seen enough Hindi horror movies, but yeah, there's a lot of Hindi horror comedy. I think somebody would have done that soon. But yeah,
nothing's new under the sun, but no one's done it here.
So in that particular tale, the way they stump the Budam, the Rani gives him a piece of hair and tasks him with cutting it into 108 exactly equal pieces.
Ooh.
And he goes off to his cave and never comes out because that's too hard to do.
Right. So it's the very wise, clever man out thinking the beast. It's actually
the wise, clever woman. The Raja is hopeless. It's the Rani who gets the.
Oh, okay. So the Rani is what, like the queen?
Yeah.
Okay. Raja is king. I didn't know Rani was queen. Okay, very good. That's pretty terrific. But yeah, it's that would be a very difficult thing to do. But you see those kinds of that sort of is a sort of a trope or an archetype that repeats itself. Where if you give the creature some sort of task or outsmart it, that sort of respects you or gets stuck. Now, that's much more clever than like a vampire's coming, but you throw some rice, or sand in front of their coffin, and when they come out, they have to stop and count each grain. I mean that.
Yeah. So that counting things happens with Chudales. That's a common one. So Chudales are usually the ghosts of women who died when they were pregnant. And they're like the worst. Even if they were very nice people in life, they become really, really super evil and murderous and dangerous when they're ghosts.
Yeah, I mean, every culture. I mean, I think most people realize. Though I worry about what people that are 10 to 35 know. But anyway, like every culture, sort of child mortality and birthing deaths. Were very common, and I think lots of kids didn't make it to age, 2 or 4 or whatever, depending on how far back you want to go. But even like in the 1800s, like women dying in childbirth was very common, and a lot of kids died before they reached adulthood. Which is why when people say, in the year 1000, the average lifespan was 32. Yeah, but that didn't mean that men died at 30. They were middle-aged at 16. It just meant that so many people died when they were young. Right. If you were healthy, yeah, you still lived to be 70, 80, years old or whatever. Anyway, but you have, even going back to, Lilith and La Llorona and the succubus. There's so many of these, Moloch. There's so many of these demons, both male and female, but mostly female, that, sort of trying to chase and eat and steal children.
Yeah. So Tudales are like, when they come out of the grave. So one of the strategies to keep the Tudale from coming back and exacting revenge, usually on the in-laws, is throwing mustard grains on the ground. So she has to count all the mustard grains.
That's it. And by the way,
you're busy and have on, and then she goes back in the grave.
And I said succubus. I didn't mean I mean like Lamia. She was like a spirit that would steal. Greek. She was I think she was I think Hera was jealous because Zeus was eyeing her, and I think Hera cursed her, and she lost her children either in utero or shortly thereafter, and then she sort of became like the Lilitu, basically the dark shade that would steal children and eat them. Basically, female Moloch.
Right. Got it.
Yeah, but one of those. But I said succubus, who seduces men in their sleep. That's a different thing entirely. I'm older.
Tudales do that though.
Who does?
That's a Tudale thing to do. The Tudale.
All right, excellent.
The ghost of the women who die in childbirth, they also like to seduce men.
So they're really full. They're really full of mischief. These ghosts. They have a lot on their agenda.
Yeah, there's some so they used to mutilate the corpses of these women so that they wouldn't be able to walk around well when they rose from the grave.
Mm-hmm.
Which is maybe part of the reason that they have the backwards feet. Like that's a common thing for Tudale. Their feet are backwards. But there's a bunch of accounts of like early Christian missionaries and Muslim dais, like people spreading Islam in India, who were like really horrified by this practice and actually managed to get a lot of converts from people who had witnessed this practice who okay, this is really fucked up. I'm going to join a new faith here. So, this Tudale myth is there. It's really old, and there's interesting accounts from early missionaries about it. And it's not just a Hindu thing. Like it goes up into the Northeast too. Like there's this is sort of a ghost, but sort of a goddess, Nipong or Niji Nipong in Arunachal Pradesh. So she's really interesting. She's like, so this is, if you want to go into origin myths, like, so there's this religion in Northeast India called Donyi Polo, which is sun moon faith.
Mm-hmm.
Donyi, I think Donyi is sun and Polo is moon. But there's a lot of folktales. All the lore in this religion is about these first two brothers, Tani and Taro. And one of them becomes the ancestors of humans and the other becomes the ancestors of spirits. Sometimes there's a third brother who becomes the ancestor of beasts. But these two kind of got into it with Nipong, like the childbirth death demon, or evil goddess of death and childbirth.
So the question is, were two man spirits enough for one evil woman spirit?
Yeah, they're kind of not spirits. They're sort of like Adam and his brother or something. I don't know. Like original men. So, but the spirits the Nipongs are really bad news. They shapeshift into like little small amphibians, like frogs and things that live in the stream. But like
with big teeth and poison.
Right?
Big sharp teeth. Yeah, something.
I don't know. It's funny because like the animal manifestations are really small. Like they're sort of like river crabs and frogs and these things that don't seem like very scary, but those are avatars of Nipong.
But they are scary. It's like the rabbit from Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Don't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. Terrifying frogs and salamanders and things like that.
Yeah. But apparently, like traditionally, like when a woman was giving birth, like all the guys would like stand around the hut with swords and shields and make a lot of noise to make sure Nipong
could. That seems like a great birthing experience, but okay. All right. Well, listen. There's 1.5 billion people in India, so something worked.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe it's the shield banging. So okay, very, very good. So all right. So I have to believe that there is like some equivalence with some like sort of monsters that we all know about. So is there like a Bigfoot equivalent?
Well, the Yeti. I mean, that's probably the best known one of all Indian ghosts and monsters, right? Like that's
sure. They have Himalayas, right?
Yeah. So there's a whole bunch of variety though. There's like a whole taxonomy of Yetis.
Yep.
There's the Nyalmos are the big ones,
mm-hmm.
and let's see. I think so. There's also this guy, this very interesting character from like Eastern Nepal and Sikkim called Banjakri, who's like he's sort of like a mini Yeti. He's not very tall. His wife is a Nyalmo, is like
mm-hmm.
a big bad man-eating Yeti. But he's kind of like this. He's sort of good, or I guess you'd probably chaotic neutral in Dungeons and Dragons. Like he's a spirit teacher, so he'll abduct kids when they're like 8, 9, 10 years old. Usually boys, but not always, and take them to this weird cave that like looks out on the whole world, and teach them how to like be shamans, like how to shoot, fire magical arrows. He's got a porcupine which fires its quills,
mm-hmm.
and like he has the kids like practice dodging those so they can dodge magical arrows shot by rival shamans.
So it's like Yoda, but with
he's totally a Yoda character. He makes people. He like most Yetis. Like there's this thing with Yetis, they never eat by picking things up. They always eat off the back of their hands.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so he eats earthworms off the back of his hands, and he makes the kids also eat earthworms off the backs of their hands. And he's very strict. Like, if you forget your slokas or you fart in class or whatever, he'll throw you out of the cave. And so, like, some people will say, "See this scar? This is the scar I got when Banjakri threw me out of the cave when I was 11 years old because I farted during my lesson."
That's mean.
But so he's your teacher, but his wife, Banjakrini, she will try to eat you. So she's always kind of like, hanging around in the cave, and he's got to like teach you while keeping you safe from his wife. So if she comes around and she's hungry, he'll throw you up into the corner of the ceiling where you'll stick in a spider web,
mm-hmm.
so that she won't see you, and then he'll bring you down again.
Well, it's a tough childhood, but you end up as, I guess, like, a sort of a Jedi kind. So I guess it's worth it. Those Jedis, I mean, not to get off, but they never really said where they got all the kids from. They said that, obviously they knew kids that were strong with the Force, and, every now and then there's the orphans, but like, I'm sure they're not just orphans were kids that were strong with the Force. I have a feeling that there was some sort of, semi-involuntary taking of Padawans.
I'm an episode 4, 5, 6 guy. I don't go into all the Padawan lore and all that stuff. I can't quite do it.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So okay. So Nyalma is the biggest one. The Chuti is the second biggest one. So slightly lower elevation. And then there's the Rangshim Bombo, which is like that's the 3 to 5 foot tall reddish brown fur guy, which raid human settlements for grain and milk.
Right.
And then there's this. So in Sikkim, which is like if you've got the map, it's that little nub that sticks out above Bhutan.
Mm-hmm.
Or next to it, in between Nepal and Bhutan. So there's one of the ethnic groups there is the Lepcha, who have the coolest demonic taxonomy in the whole country, if you ask me. I mean, it's like they have so many named demonic entities, like every possible disease and affliction and like bad mood as a personification and these really complicated spells to keep them away and everything. It's great. And so they have those are called Moom.
Right.
And one of the Moom is the Jamfi Moom, which is like a Yeti. And like a lot of Yeti, like the females are more dangerous than the males, and they like to abduct human men and keep them in their caves and stuff. And they're especially attracted to flute playing and whistling. So you have to be careful not to whistle in the dark in the mountains.
So it's a reverse Pied Piper effect.
Yeah. That's
very cool. I had no idea there was an entire taxonomy of Yetis, though. I mean, it makes perfect sense. I mean, because, there's whatever you want to compare the Yeti to, like Bigfoot or Sasquatch, there's slightly different descriptions and variations. I saw something, I think it must have been a YouTube video, where they had Yeti versus Bigfoot. And like somehow they were, it's like they had scientifically given them different traits and abilities and strengths and whatnot. And it was all fairly convincing, but, I'm wondering how they knew all this. Anyway, there's got to be some equivalent or similar thing to a werewolf.
Yeah, were-tigers.
Oh, even better. Yeah. Well, tell me about a were-tiger. How does one become a were-tiger? I mean, I imagine is silver also a problem for them?
I haven't heard about silver and were-tiger. So there's actually two kinds. There's the were-tiger, which is like your actual physically change into a tiger.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the were-tiger man.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this from Nagaland, again in Northeast India, there's this writer named Eastern Kire who coined this term in English for. So those are dreaming were-tigers. So your body actually doesn't change. Like you kind of go to sleep. You'll sleep all night and be totally out, but your spirit will go outside your body and become a tiger. And those tigers will have 5, like their paw prints are different.
Mm-hmm.
They're like the 5-toed tiger. And those tigers, they have like a whole like political structure. Like there's one night in the year where they all meet and like elect a leader and like divide up like hunting ranges and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you become one? I think it's not hereditary, but you can get it by like sharing things with somebody who is one.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you share certain foods with someone else who's a were-tiger man, like you can become a were-tiger man like that.
So you can do it voluntarily. You'd be like, this seems like a great idea. Let's have some stew together.
Yeah.
And by stew, I don't mean like a person.
I'm reminding myself here. So in Meghalaya, among the Kazi people, it's inherited. It comes down from mother to daughter or from maternal uncle to nephew. And the Nagas also would say it can be inherited, but that it can rub off on a person who spends a lot of time around another. Tekumiabi is the Naga word for were-tiger man. Or who shares certain food items. Like ginger root is like, if you share ginger root with somebody, you can catch their were-tiger madness. Or chicken liver.
Okay. Alrighty.
And that one, and that myth is interesting because it goes from like Northeast India down into Central India. Like the Gond people of Central India also have that same myth and some of the same things of how they change. the same thing of the five-toed paw.
Excellent. So the five-toed paw is the were-tiger man or the were-tiger itself?
This is the dreaming tiger. I think the when you actually change into a tiger, you look fully like a tiger.
Okay, regular paws when are you bigger than a regular tiger, or just, I mean, tigers are pretty damn big anyway, but are you a regular, tiger?
As far as I know, so like a lot of the were-tigers stories I know are from Mizoram. Mm-hmm. So you might be talking to Sherry Tsangte later. I think she did a book with us called Mizo Myths. So Mizoram is this, it's just a population about 1 million. Mm-hmm. Like as a proportion of India's population, it's very tiny. Right. But they've got their own language, which it's a very interesting colonial encounter. They're almost like they're like 95% Christian or something. And it's a very interesting missionary encounter because like the missionaries sort of kept a lot of like the names of their God and the name of heaven and like taught them about Jesus and stuff, but like they've kept an awful lot of the pre-Christian folklore and they all know it and they love telling those stories. Yeah. So it's like it's interesting kind of like syncretic Christian animism thing. So they've got a lot of were-tiger stories and their were-tigers, as far as I know, are indistinguishable from tigers.
Okay. That's good. Yeah. That's fine. Do they interact with regular tigers?
This is a good question. I don't think I've heard a story like that.
I mean, I know tigers are very territorial, which makes perfect sense with the story where we said they all meet once a year and they divide territories and things like that. But, if you're a were-tiger, you might share a territory with an actual tiger. I'm
wondering if in the traditional belief there even were actual tigers.
Oh, gotcha.
I haven't thought of that before, though.
That's interesting.
It does seem that all the tigers that show up can go to the Kami. They're called Kami in Mizo, so they go to the Kami village and act like humans most of the time.
Okay. So we don't know for sure, but it might be that all tigers are actually were-tigers as opposed to in most werewolf lore, there's wolves and werewolves, and I suppose they can interact anyway. All right. So you must have some sort of equivalent of or similar creature to a vampire.
Yeah. So there's it's a little different in different parts of the country. So in Tamil Nadu, if you ask somebody to translate, like, how do you say vampire in Tamil, they'll use the word kateri. But kateris or ratta kateri, ratta is blood. So, but kateris are really pretty different. Like, for one thing, they're like pitch black, mm-hmm. Instead of pale skinned or whatever. And they've got, this potu, like the dot on the forehead, right?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
That's also black. They have like a pitch black dot on their pitch black forehead.
Okay.
And that's the source of their power. If you can manage to rub off that potu, then you get some control over them. But while they've got that, they can shrink really tiny. They can grow really huge. They tend to have sort of like hypnotized guard elephants that like will attack you if you try to come close to their lair. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they drink blood. I mean, that's the common thing. They drink blood, and they're sort of there's a goddess. There's this Katyayani. Okay, this is a nice story actually. There's a Shiva Parvati story about Kateri Yaman. So Parvati's always kind of like doing sort of dark and twisted things, right? And Shiva kind of keeps her in line. So when she starts sneaking out at night, and Shiva doesn't know where she's going, and so he follows her secretly and finds out that she's going to the cremation ground. And then when she gets there, she's like, this beautiful goddess is changing form and getting this. She gets this monstrous face and really huge fangs and stuff, and starts feeding on dead bodies and charred bones and stuff. And so the next night, he digs a pit on her path and covers it up to trap her. So on her way back from the cremation ground, she falls in the pit, and he kind of leans down. He's like, "Why are you doing this? Why are you going out and eating dead bodies. And she's like, yeah, I'm sorry, I just got a taste for it. I know it's wrong. I'll give it up. So she slews off her monstrous form in the pit, and then comes out, and then she's like, good Parvati again. But the monstrous form that she leaves in the pit is Kartat Yama.
Okay.
So that's this ghost. And then so the Ratha Kartari vampire guys are like the devotees or sorcerers who pray to that goddess.
Okay, so it sounds like though that might also result in your sort of zombie revenant type. And also, if before I forget, I also want to ask, like, do you just have like a standard giant as well? But you can start with her as the zombie kind of creature.
Zombie, yeah. The closest to a zombie is the Tibetan Rolangs, and I have to give a disclaimer here. There's like a couple hundred languages that are referenced in my book, and I know how to pronounce some of them, but I have no idea how to deal with Tibetan. And I've talked to some Tibetans, but I can't remember how they say it. Tibetan has like a lot of bizarre spellings when they do it in English. It could be like BT as a consonant blend, and I have no idea how to do that.
We will not hold you to the pronunciation.
Yeah. So Rolangs, ROLANGS is the Tibetan zombie. And again, there's a taxonomy of those guys. Rolangs, I think it just literally means risen corpse. And they are totally zombie-like. They're totally stiff. They can't bend down. So, like, actually, this is given as a reason for why Tibetan people, like, build low roofs, low entryways. They have short doors so that Rolangs can't come in because they can't bend down.
Got it.
There's Rolangs can be classified according to which part of the body is vulnerable to attack. So, and I'm just going to butcher the pronunciation. LPAGS. Hogslangs has vulnerable skin. A Kroglangs has vulnerable blood. A Shalangs has vulnerable muscles. A Ruslangs has vulnerable bones. And a Rmaylangs is the fifth and most difficult kind to defeat, since its only vulnerable small spot is a small mole or birthmark somewhere on its skin. So even if you decapitate and dismember it and cut it into pieces, that little part with the mole will keep coming after you until you I like that.
They were very afraid of melanoma at some point, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's great. Different kinds of zombies, and you have to, are they physically distinctive, or do you just have to luck out on what you attack to get it right? I mean, is there any, how do you, like, would there be like a Witcher kind out there that would know the different types and know, here, we got to go for the muscle, here we have to go for the, the arm or whatever?
I don't know. This is really Tibetan. So there's some ethnic groups in India that speak Tibetic languages. So I put Rolangs in there because they're sort of Indian, but that's really like hardcore, like Tibetan lore.
Now let's assume that there is somewhere, there's a wandering knight out there somewhere that knows the difference and then can save the village by knowing them. How do you attack the other ones? And probably also steals them away to a cave and has to keep away his giantess wife. So are there giants other than the largest Yetis, though? I think the Yamos, I think you call them.
Yalmos, yeah. There's you say Arakan, which is, in Tamil it's Arakan. So Arakan is, I think the etymology is a little bit in dispute. It might just be like a Tamil version of Rakshasa, which is Rakshasa is like the sort of standard Indian monster demon from the epics, right? Mahabharata and Ramayana are full of Rakshasas. So, the Arakan is sort of like a Tamil version of that, maybe. But they're really big and muscular and red. They live on top of hills.
Are they humanoid? Aside from being giant.
Yeah, humanoid. Generally humanoid. I think maybe horns sometimes, or like, or a little, a tail maybe.
Oh, okay. Yeah, now we're getting somewhere. And listen, I know there's got to be dragons or serpent beasts or hydra or something.
Yeah, so there's some really old descriptions of dragons from India, especially in Greek books. Like there's those, Theseus CTESIAS. So he was the court physician in Persepolis in I want to say 500 BC. So he never went to India, but he met all these Indian emissaries and heard all these stories of India. And he was a lot of the first stories that came to Greece about India.
Persepolis is in modern day Iran, right?
Right. Yeah.
Persia, right? That's where it comes from.
Yeah. So he was the Greek court physician in the king of Persia's capital.
Right.
And so meeting all these, delegations from India and writing about them for the Greek audience. So this is the first stuff you have in Europe, about the things that live in India. So this is where actually the first descriptions of the unicorn come from, the manticore. There's a lot of stuff that kind of classical monsters come from Ctesias's descriptions of what lives in India.
I really should know this. So thank you for bringing that up. And if anyone's ever mentioned it before on the show and I forgot, well, I mean, that's why it's recorded. I'm not.
Yeah, it's an interesting book. I mean, it's mostly lost. There's fragments of it. It gets quoted in other books later, so they kind of pieced a bunch of it together. But there's a lot of weird stuff in there. There's this. There's the race of people in the Eastern Himalayas who don't have assholes.
Oh well, I mean, I don't know. Everyone you can think about all the repercussions. I imagine they either have really fast metabolisms that they don't need to excrete, or they have different ways of excreting that are horrific.
It's described in detail.
Awesome. Okay. Let me say, were things like the unicorn or the manticore, were they imported from India, or is just their examples of creatures in this gentleman's book, Dr. Ctesias?
As far as I can tell, the manticore is originally an Indian, this guy's report of what happened in India. And I think he claims to have, somebody brought a baby one in a cage.
Really?
He said he saw, I think he said he saw a baby manticore in a cage. And then unicorns, the original description of the unicorn kind of sounds like maybe he's just describing a rhinoceros and he's got it wrong.
Yeah.
Because they can run fast. They've got this single horn. The horn is described as purple. Well, there's a lot of stuff that sounds rhino-ish.
I've heard a lot, and I don't know if this is just convenient retrofitting or whatever, but not the woolly rhinoceros, but the Siberian rhinoceros was the original myth of the unicorn. And I found a photo of one in the museum. I didn't know what a Siberian rhinoceros was, and it is an amazing creature. I mean, first of all, it's huge. It's
got that huge horn, right? It's gigantic thing.
Huge horn. It looks like something out of science fiction. It's bigger than African elephant, or at least similar in size. And yeah, if that was the original unicorns, it totally matches with the monstrousness. I just don't know when those things died out, but obviously a Siberian rhinoceros would have been more in Siberia. But I mean, animals don't honor borders. They just have ranges or territory. So, I mean, obviously they're, just because they're called the Siberian rhinoceros doesn't mean that there weren't ones that, enjoyed other climates or, wandered around, but, or that they found a skeleton if one said, unicorn. That's one horn, but that's really cool. What's a manticore look like again? I always get, basilisks and manticores confused.
Manticores have the scorpion tails that shoot harpoons. They've got they're kind of there. I think they have human faces. Let's see.
Right.
Somewhat like a man's, with blue human-like eyes and large and hairy ears, but with 3 rows of sharp teeth in each jaw. It had the feet and claws of a lion and the stinger of a scorpion attached to the tip of its tail. The stinger itself was 0.5 meter long and as thick as a rope. And Ctesias was told that the venom from it could kill a man instantly. The creature could fire these stingers like harpoons, and it could aim either in front or behind it to hit targets at long range. Once a stinger had been discharged, it would quickly go back. Manticores ate human flesh and were reportedly responsible for many deaths. Ctesias wrote that ancient Indians used to hunt young animals that had not yet developed stingers in order to smash their tails with rocks so that they would never develop into the deadly harpoons.
You know, it sounds like a sound strategy. So basically a really scary demon scorpion with a human face. Oh, it sounds terrifying. Sounds like a little bit like one of the demons in Hellraiser. Okay. Yeah, that I think that's scarier than the basilisk. I think the basilisk is sort of like a really angry rooster. But I'm not really sure. All right. So what are some of the other like creatures that you really think that we should hear about that I wouldn't even know to ask about?
Let's see. Yeah.
I mean, obviously,
Mizoram has some of my favorite stuff.
I mean, obviously, there's going to be witches. There's witches everywhere.
There are witches everywhere. It was kind of hard to write the witch chapter because, like, you know, we're not over that stuff here, right? Like, there's still witch murders in India. They're not all that rare, also.
Really?
Yeah. It's not just like, you know, backwoods rural places. There are like, you know, wealthy, educated urban Indians who believe in that stuff. And you know, it can get bad.
Well, maybe they're the ones that are right and maybe we're wrong.
I hope not. No, I mean, there's a lot of weird misogyny in it. It's like a good way to like take old ladies' land. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, sure. The Salem witch trials was mostly that. So
yeah. So that's all very much alive, you know.
And not just old ladies. I mean, the entire families were, you know, their land was taken. But I don't know. The touchy subject these days of whose land is whose. I mean,
that's right. Yeah.
So someone somewhere in like South Africa right now is going, it's all mine. I've been here for 7 million years. This is mine. There's one guy who can trace his roots, or one family that can trace the roots 7-10 million years and say, we've always been right here. We have the exclusive right to this territory.
The Khoisan, that language group, the Click languages.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah. Imagine they're saying the Click language and almost nobody can understand what they're saying. And that's how they're, never mind. I'm going to stop.
Yeah. Anyway, Mizoram has great ghost stories, and there's it's a little bit like Little Red Riding Hood, Hansel and Gretel feel to it. There's this story about Muichuk Churiduninu. I had to practice that one. Muichuk Churiduninu is a witch that lives in the woods who has like a long bird beak.
Of course.
And she fools Nuchimi and her sister, like these two girls, to come to her house, and then in the night uses her bird beak to like crack open the sister's brain and eat it.
Delicious.
And then, it's pretty gruesome. And then so Nuchimi kind of teams up with this rat in her house to defeat her. But she's a very spooky character.
Sounds a little bit like the typical witch of the woods with a little bit extra horror added. Now, is her beak always on there, or does it appear
I think she's always got the beak, and when they first come to the house, they're surprised by the beak, but she's very sweet to them, mm-hmm. and she treats them very well, so they don't run away screaming. But yeah.
What about something with reptilian wings? I mean, you gotta have like a gargoyle or something with scary giant bat wings, which is not a reptile, but I don't know, some kind of wings. I mean, I'm saying reptilian wings, and then I pull out a mammal. So yeah.
Let's So you mentioned dragons, right? So I think we got off on other stuff from Theseus, but Theseus's dragons don't have wings. Mm-hmm. Like Draco and Indicus, they're wingless. They like hang out in trees and bend down and eat elephants.
So they're like giant snakes, basically.
Yeah, they're like really big snakes. They have that. There's this Nagmani legend. You know about the legend of the jewel in the cobra's head?
I don't know if I do. So okay, let's hear it.
That's a pretty famous one. So this goes not just for dragons, but there's a legend that if a cobra lives for 100 years without biting anybody, that the venom the unused venom kind of like coagulates in its head and becomes this incredibly powerful jewel.
Okay.
Which allows, like, it's like a wish granting jewel. It like lets you shapeshift into anything, like conjure riches and everything. And those are super valuable stones that, like, you know, are the what do you say? The goals of quests and fought over by sorcerers and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, just ask Thanos. You know, he was.
Yeah. Those are really popular even now in Pulp Fiction and movies and stuff. There's this great, really excellent, like, schlocky movie called Power to Me Nagam about it. Not very good. But yeah, so that legend is like at least as old as Theseus, because like 500 BC he's talking about these dragons who had these jewels in their heads, and like the Indian dragons were almost like driven to extinction by people hunting for those gems. And there's they had these whole strategies of like hypnotizing the dragons with like spells written out on red and gold tapestry that they would wave outside the entrance to their caves to like put the dragons to sleep and then like chop them up and get their jewels.
Is that where the snake charming thing comes from?
I mean, I don't know where stuff comes from, but this is a lot of these legends are like at least that old. Like this is the first European reports you get over like 2,500.
Because I've heard the snake charming thing is something that like they do just for tourists, but obviously you had to hone a skill, and I don't know. It seems like they weren't always tourists, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's it seems like it's kind of dying out. Like when I first came to India as a kid, there were snake charmers, and maybe I just don't hang out in tourist places anymore. But like we visited Bombay, like Gateway of India and stuff. I remember there were snake charmers there. I remember seeing snake charmers in Delhi, like, you know, playing for snakes. I haven't seen it in like decades.
Is it cool?
I don't know.
Does it work? Does it actually look like the snake is being charmed?
It's kind of amazing. I mean, yeah. Apparently, like, it's not really the sound; it's just the motion. They kind of train the snake to follow the motion.
Oh, so it's not music that tames the savage beast. It's just the rhythmic part.
Yeah, so I've heard. Yeah.
I don't think that snakes really have good hearing. I think that they hear it's like they feel vibration.
Yeah, it's like that's too treble. It's not low frequency enough for them to hear, I guess.
Yeah.
But they used to put on like snake and mongoose shows also for tourists, and like they have trained mongooses.
Ricky Tikki Tavi.
I remember that one as a kid. I haven't seen it in like a long time.
I remember Ricky Tikki Tavi, the old cartoon book, whatever it was. Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so I think also the people for the ethical treatment of animals got bigger. I think they stopped a lot of that stuff.
Well, probably right to do so. I mean, one of those animals was going to lose, and they probably both get hurt in the mix. But
right.
You know, all right. Well, what can you do? Good job, Peter. All right, sea monster. There's got to be some sort of sea monster. There's always a sea monster.
Lots of sea monsters. So, yeah, Timingala, or Timingala, is basically just, you know, Timmy is like a great white shark, and Timingala is a giant whale, and Timingala is the guy who eats the giant whales. Ah, okay. When they were saying, you know, in old books, when they're saying like all the vicious beasts that live in the sea, they'll say Timingala, right? So the sharks and the whales and the things that eat those. But there's a Buddhist legend about a Timingala, which used to terrorize sailors in the Bay of Bengal, which ate a lot of ships, which was actually converted to Buddhism by one of the guys on the ships, like praying for deliverance. And the sea monster took a vow of ahimsa, of nonviolence, and from that point onwards ate nothing but seaweed and was like a protector. And after it died, it was reborn as a monk.
Well, what's the creature? Is it like a giant shark? Is it like a sea dragon, Loch Ness? Is it just not is it like an octopus or a squid, like a kraken kind of thing?
There's another mythology podcast that I listened to. I can't remember which one it was, but they did a whole episode on sea monsters. And they were talking about how it's hard for us to imagine the days before there were underwater cameras. But they had no idea, right? I mean, right. You could not see what the hell it was, right? It was just some big ass thing that, like, you see this back coming through the water, and you didn't know if it was a snake or a whale or a shark. You know, like they didn't. It's anybody's guess what it looked like.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, you don't hear very detailed descriptions of these things.
So it's basically just a creature that ate sharks and whales. It's just big. We don't know it. It's not descriptive. Just that it's terrifying. All right. How about from above? There's some giant winged bird, or the hawk monster, eagle monster, or something.
Yeah, we got those too.
I hope so.
Let's see. There's the Mura, which is kind of like Mura is a lot like a rock, just like a. So the Mura is from Mizo mythology, and plays a role in I think there's a sort of primordial battle between the beasts of the air and the beasts of the land, in which the humans finally join the beasts on the land and give the land beasts the edge over the flying beasts.
Oh,
the Mura, I think the Mura and the Python they started.
Okay.
They start the whole battle.
Well, humans are beasts of land. I mean, we are.
Sorry?
I mean, humans are. We're primates. I mean, sorry if anyone doesn't know that. We're apes.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you. In the Mizo legend, for some reason, we're kind of late to join.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we're sort of late to realize it.
Mm-hmm.
We're kind of egoed out, think we're above the animals.
It's just like Tolkien. The humans were late to join the fray.
That's it. Yeah. So, but the Mura used to land on people's houses and stick the tail in the front door, so that people would get freaked out and run through the back door, and then it'd be waiting there with its mouth. That was the hunting trick.
And what's it look like? Is it like a big vulture, or is
Yeah, I mean, kind of like I am, at least what I've read, I imagine it kind of like the Rock from, the Sinbad stories.
It's like almost like a pterodactyl, but bird.
Huge eagle. I think eagle. I think it's described as an eagle.
Okay.
There's also this. Have you ever seen an adjutant stork?
I don't think I have.
So they're really creepy looking birds. They're very endangered now, but there used to be a lot of them. And they live in Calcutta, Assam, and they're kind of famous for being able to just down whole femurs. They'll just eat the femur of a large animal and just digest it.
Yeah, that does sound pretty scary. I saw a picture this week, and I'd seen this before, but it's been a while, and I forget every time. But the harpy eagle, and you could definitely see that if it was.
Those are crazy looking.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely see where the harpy and witches and everything. Somebody saw a silhouette of that in dusk or dawn, and they'd be like, "Yeah, that I just saw the devil." I mean, a lot of things can be explained by. Seeing pictures of those in light and then seeing it's silhouetted on a branch in half light or whatever.
Or all those flightless birds. There's all those flightless birds that up until 700, 800 years ago, there were those elephant birds on Madagascar,
right?
Moas in New Zealand, and those are all 8-9 feet tall.
Yeah, and carnivorous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're scary.
Carnivorous giant birds are definitely, and they're fast. They'd be faster than the people as well. So, yeah, absolutely. Not those dodos. So I know that, that in I think the hero god, there's usually a god of war and or rain, and oftentimes they're the same god. I think in Indian, it's Indra, and there was the typical sort of Indra defeated a dragon or some sort of,
Yeah.
Yeah. Is what
this is the oldest version of Hinduism, right? This comes in Rig Veda,
I think so.
Yeah. So Vritra is the dragon.
And is it a dragon like the ones from the trees that drop down and eat elephants, or is it the more the St. George killing the dragon, or Smog from the Hobbit? Is it a winged dragon, or is it a giant snake?
He's really huge, sort of cosmically huge, right? This is
so Thor in the Midgard.
Old mythology, right? So he's a gargantuan demon. He's the personification of drought. And his name, Vridra, actually means the enveloper. So he kind of like, he envelops things.
So he's I said the Midgard serpent. I don't mean the Midgard serpent. What are the giant snake that surrounds the world? Maybe it is the Midgard serpent.
Nidhogg? Nidhogg? Is it Nidhogg?
I don't know, but I luckily here I have this thing from usefulcharts.com, and I have all of these things here somewhere. So I will look for it.
Midgard serpent is Loki's kid, right?
Yeah, one of Loki's children. He had all sorts of like terrible children. All right, so
Midgard serpent and hell.
All right, so it is the Midgard serpent, which is different than the serpent, the snake who gnaws on the roots of the tree of life. That's entirely different. So yeah, the Midgard serpent. What's that?
Who's Nidhogg?
I think
Nidhogg is the guy who gnaws the roots.
The snake is Nidhogg is the snake who gnaws on the roots of the tree of life, which is different than the Midgard serpent. I'm not going to try to pronounce the Scandinavian into English here, but Midgard serpent surrounds the world, surrounds the earth, and Thor defeated it, but of course got hit with its poison. I think Indra actually does the more of the the Zeus defeating Typhon, Marduk defeating Tiamat kind of thing.
He gets the Vajra, right? The Thunderbolt. He gets
I believe so. Yeah, and if you ask do you know John F. Wyatt? Do you ever see the show Craig and Ford on YouTube? No, he's my favorite. So, and he's like really into the Indo-Europeans, which of course entails India. But Trito was the first warrior, at least I guess we can trace, other than Orion, who seemed to be more like interested in chasing women. This is like, Trito also defeated like a snake, which, has morphed into a dragon over time. But the snakes often were associated with water, but it's interesting that maybe the water, maybe the snake was also blamed for the lack of water. It's so big it took the water. That's why the warrior god, the defender god, had to take care of it. So it's very consistent. I mean, it's almost everywhere where there's like, some hero who has to do battle with a serpent.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of really fun, like, evil serpent stories from the Northeast also. Every state. So these 7 sister states, right? And there's that little neck that connects India over Bangladesh with the 7 sister states of the Northeast. And every one of those states has a giant dragon, like, myth. Except the Gado tribe, who have the same story, except it's not a dragon, it's a boar. Okay. It's a 7-headed boar. Ooh. And he starts out just like they bring him up from the underworld, and he starts out just like as a little tiny pig, and he eats and eats and eats and eats, and he gets so big that he's got like mountain ranges on his back. It's a really great battle scene. So this is the Gado god of strength is Goeta, and he has to do a bunch of preparation. He has to get like special arrows and a special sword and all this stuff to take on the giant 7-headed boar.
There's so many 7-headed things. There's so much with 7 everywhere. Every religion, every mythology, 7, all of it. And the only thing I can think of is that's how you broke up a week. To make it so universal.
But where does that come from, right? How do you why do you choose 7? Because 7 wanderers, right?
Well, I mean, I think that you chose it originally by the phases of the moon. I mean, I think that's that. I mean,
how do you get 7 out of that?
I think they just tracked the amount of times that the sun went up and down, and then the.
But it doesn't really work, right? It's 29. I mean, it's off, right?
Yeah, well, it's close enough. I mean, I think everything became close enough. I mean, that's why we have leap year. That's why we don't. Our years are 365 days, but that's not exactly the orbit around the sun.
But the 7 days are from the 7 wanderers, right? Everything in the sky moves at the same speed except those 7 guys, right?
I don't know. You tell me.
Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. You couldn't see Uranus or Neptune yet. Mm-hmm. So those are the 7 guys that you could see moving around in the sky that didn't follow the same pattern as all the stars. And everyone has a name. And that's like, it's crazy, right? Not only every Indo-European language, but even the Dravidian languages and like lots of languages, all the days of the week have that same one, right? Sunday is the sun and moon day, and like those gods are the same across everything. That's great. And can you do it again? Because I mean, I'm doing the show for 4 years, and I think this is the first time I've heard the Seven Wanderers mentioned. So let's do it one more time for those of us in the back of the bus, me, who are slow. Sun is Sunday, moon is Monday, Mars is Tuesday, miércoles, like Wednesday, is Mercury, jueves is Thor, is Jupiter, is Bjorn, is Guruvar is Thursday, Venus is Friday, Saturn is Saturday, right? Those are your seven wanderers. Right, but they represent the sun, the moon, and you said 5 planets? Yeah, Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. Those are those 7 things that you can see in the sky that don't move in the same pattern as the fixed stars. Well, that makes total sense. Right? Yeah. So, and like, it's kind of weird, like how many languages have the days of the week named after those 7 guys. Right, but I always thought that Wednesday, miércoles, Mercury, makes a lot of sense. But Wednesday in English, I thought was, Woden's Day from Germanic, Woden, Odin, Wotan. Is Odin not associated with Mercury? Honestly, I don't know. That's an excellent question. I don't know the answer to that. Because I think Thor is associated with Jupiter, right? Which is why he's Thursday. You know what? I have never gone into Norse gods being associated with certain planets, but it makes total sense. It also makes total sense that Thor, even though not being the king of the gods, was sort of the strongest of the Norse gods. It was sort of the defense, and Odin was more the smart guy. So, yeah, I mean, I'm so trained. When I think of Mercury, I instantly think of the the FTD guy with the World War I helmets with little wings on his head, and I'm thinking of Hermes, and there was Hermod in Norse, who was the messenger of the gods, but that doesn't mean that their Hermod was associated with Mercury. I don't know the answer to that question, but because like in Hindi and Tamil, the names of the planets are just the names of the week. Like Thursday is Vyara, and that means Jupiter. Mm-hmm. You just say Jupiter. It's the same word. So pretty much everywhere the days of the week are named after basically the sun, moon, and the heavenly bodies that people could see and could see were moving differently than everything else. They didn't have the normal procession. I've never heard anybody like say where that came from, because that's got to be like at least as old as Indo-European stuff, because it's in every Indo-European language as far as I can. Just imagine. And it's even there in Dravidian languages, and it's like other I don't know about Japanese and Korean and stuff. Maybe it came there later. I don't know. I mean, I know the 7 sisters were everywhere, and I know that's really, really old, because you couldn't see the 7 sisters, for like 100, for like 100,000 years. You can see them with the naked eye. You can see 6, but I know even like the word Subaru, like the brand of car, means 7 sisters, and that's why their logo is basically, I think it's 7 stars, but it might only be 6. I'm not even sure. But, that I know goes back. So 7, I always thought maybe was the sisters in the days of the week, but, I like your version as being equally plausible, if not more plausible. I think it's also like this thing of like, it's the first number that you can't supertize, right? Like if you see 7 things like lying on the ground in a random pattern, like you kind of need to count them. If there's any fewer than that, you can just say that's 5 or that's 6. Okay. 7 is sort of like, you know what I mean? I'm getting there. Just like throw 7 seeds on, like if you see like 7 seeds, in a cup or something, you kind of have to count them to know how many there are. Okay. Anything else, you supertize it. You don't have to count them. You just know it. 6 is like the limit of what you can just sort of eyeball. Yeah. So we're all 7 vampires. Is just kind of like above the, that you're immediately. I don't know what the word is. That's interesting. So okay, a whole lot of different meaning to or reasons for 7. I love it. That's really cool. I was not expecting to get that, but the 7 Wanderers, I like that. I like that whole thing a lot. I'm gonna have to look into that a little bit further. I see it's been
almost an hour and 15 minutes. So I want to make sure that if there's anything that you absolutely want to impart to us or something that's particularly bizarre or scary, you have a chance to do so. And then, obviously you can sell us all your stuff.
Yeah, no, there's lots of stuff in here. Come check out Blaft.com. I guess in the US and UK, the Ghost, Monsters, and Demons book is being sold by Watkins. So you can get it on Penguin Random House or Watkins Books in the UK. And then we've got these other folklorists that we're publishing in India, Sherry Tangte on Mizo Myths and Ki Rachnarayan on Tamil stuff. And then translations of pulp fiction and some weird fiction from other people. Lots of fun stuff.
That sounds great. I have a real world question to ask you. I know when I was growing up, there was the Tamil Tigers. There was is that still a thing, or is there still like a discord between India and Tamil or Tamil?
Yeah, the Tamil Tigers got pretty well wiped out. I guess that was 2010. And to be honest, like I have not. They assassinated Rajiv Gandhi, and that was their big, attack here on Indian soil. But I have managed to live in Chennai without hearing too much about that conflict. Like it was a Sri Lanka thing. And I even went to, my wife was working on a movie, and we went to Sri Lanka and we stayed in Nooraliya, which is this like majority Tamil town in the center of Sri Lanka while that conflict was still raging. And those people are like, that's just that part of Sri Lanka. We're fine. We're Tamil. We get along with the Sinhalese people. We're okay. Mm-hmm. So somehow it's like it was horrible and there was terrible violence, but it was a little bit specific to this one region.
Gotcha.
You didn't feel a lot of it here.
Okay.
Or at least I didn't. Yeah.
I mean, I guess there's good news in there, not necessarily how it got to the end place, but know that there's one less conflict in the world. Not that there aren't plenty of others. Yes, we all know. You said your wife is working on a movie. Does she know Dinesh?
She used to work in movies. She used to work in Tamil films. So she was an associate director, and still wants to make one someday. Maybe we will.
So, I hope so. Is Dinesh going to be the breakout star that becomes an American action star as well, or is he too old?
I'm so out of it, man. What did you see recently?
he was in RRR, and there was another Netflix movie that had Chris Evans and Ryan Gosling, and Dinesh was in that. He was sort of like a noble assassin.
Yeah, I'm down here in the South, man. We've got a different set of stars. It's all like Vijay and Rajni and Vijay Sethupathi and different names.
I thought I was going to impress you. I thought I was going to impress you with knowing one Indian star. But
I should. I mean, like my ancestry is like Punjabis. Like they're big in Bollywood. Like I'm supposed to know my Hindi movies, but I don't watch them.
Gotcha. So it's not like the U.S. where you may not like action movies, but you know who Tom Cruise is.
Yeah. No, I should know Dinesh. I'm sure. My wife would probably be horrified that I didn't know who you were talking about. But I really have really low patience for Bollywood movies.
Okay. Listen, I understand why. I mean, there's a lot of dance-offs and singing scenes in movies where that shouldn't be happening. I get it. It's very Rodgers and Hammerstein-y.
I'm just telling you the truth. Like I like watching like Midnight Masala where they just play the songs. Mm-hmm. That's okay. I can do that.
Sound like my father. Yeah, it's like the show tunes. All right, very good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for our tour of some of the lore, legends, monsters, demons. It sounds like we only scratched the scratch of the surface, and that's the way it's supposed to be. Awesome. So, folks, pick up Pete's book and check out the catalog from the other authors and folklorists. We have 2 people scheduled on the books for in coming weeks and months, and hopefully we'll build from there. That's what we usually do. And I thank everyone for listening to Garden of Doom. Check out his stuff. Check out this, subscribe to the show. Give us a like, give us a rating, give us a review. I hate saying this, but I'm told I have to. But I do like saying this. If you find the show to be unique and sort of your one-stop shopping for everything that's sort of a little bit, alternative. It's not just UFOs. It's not just mythology. It's not just alternative history. All sorts of stuff. Then, tell your friends. You don't have to listen to 7 different podcasts. You can listen to this one podcast. So anyway, that's it for this week. Thanks a lot to our guest again. Thank you, Rakesh, for coming on. Appreciate it. Appreciate the leads. Hope you had a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, Jeff.
Absolutely. And audience, if I seem a little bit off, it's because I actually went out last night and drank, and it's getting, like, I do that like twice a year, and I think like I'm going to cut that down to 1 because it's hard. If I didn't seem a little bit off, then forget everything I just said. All right. Thanks a lot. Thanks for listening, Garden of Doom. And you'll hear from us again next week.